What's up, Huddle crew?
It is so cool.
Back at you with another episode of the Huddle. Coming at you every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central, to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring careers. Today, we got a special guest, an episode that is really near and dear to all of our hearts. The role of apprenticeships in flooring. This used to be much more prevalent in our industry back in the day, and we want to discuss how to maybe some methods of reigniting that in the current environment. Not as many employee installers in our industry at the moment, and it's been that way for the last 15-20 years. So we got Carlos with us from NF Cap. That's the best way. NF Cap.
That's the best way. NF Cap.
NF Cap.
No cap.
So Carlos, and with me as always is Daniel and Jose Gonzalez from Preferred Flooring out of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yo.
I don't introduce myself very often, but I'll go ahead and say I'm Paul Stuart, and I'm with
Patrick
Mahomes. Carrera and Patrick Mahomes. I'm trying to get him like perfectly in the background. So congratulations to my buddy Patrick for pulling another Super Bowl victory home to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, congrats.
Boy. So how's it going, Carlos?
Wonderful. I'm over here in Miami right now. Just landed this morning. I'll be back in San Francisco tomorrow night.
Dude, you're going to be in two cities that we had to beat to win the championship. So sorry, I'm going to be making these references the entire episode. But we had to beat Miami in the playoffs. And we just beat San Francisco to win
crazy.
It isn't hurting anybody's feelings, but
that's crazy.
Well, I can tell you, I do wish that it would have been a different team going up against. I was really rooting on Detroit, and I've got a lot of friends up where you guys are. We got installers down here that are from up there in Detroit, and I was rooting for them. That
was a great game. I saw it.
It was fun.
Yeah, San Francisco. They came back and beat the Lions. I couldn't believe it. I thought they were losing, but they came back.
It was that third quarter, man. Yeah,
that whole second
quarter
half.
Gotcha.
We don't talk about that anymore. We just
sorry guys, I forgot.
We'll get it next year. we'll get it next year. We'll be back.
Old news, bro. Why are you bringing up old stuff?
Well, speaking of, championships, how do we turn installers into champions and win them a championship from a installation perspective? Like we tout this industry, we tout about how beneficial and rewarding it can be. It's one of the things I love about it. Not just, from a financial standpoint, can you do well in this industry, but there's just something about doing a project and standing up and finishing a job. You're the finishing touches to a lot of these homes and offices and hospitals. So it's something I've always gotten a lot of pride out of when I was installing was the completed product. So Carlos, you guys in NF Cap do a lot in this area, a lot in the arena of apprenticeships. It's a daunting task. I've talked to you several times. I know it's, not always the easiest thing to attack. I mean, I'm going to open it up with a question straight to you. How are you guys looking at it? How does NF Cap in the States, and how do people look at apprenticeships when we have such a heavy influence of subcontractors, which I love my subs. We got plenty. If you want to go out and start your own installation business, you got my support. I know you got these guys' support, but it does present a unique challenge to those trying to work with apprenticeships, does it not?
Yeah. Honestly, it does not in the long run, and the reason why is because when we're out here and we're promoting the flooring industry and saying, hey, there's an opportunity for you to become a flooring installer, we're not selling a job. We're actually selling the opportunity of becoming your own flooring contractor. So that's the way that we get these students into interest into our program and coming into our industry. They go work for a flooring contractor for about 3 to 4 years. Once they complete their apprenticeship hours, then they get a certificate from the Department of Labor.
Uh-oh. He must
Lost
have got a phone
Carlos.
call.
He'll be right back, I think. I think what he's alluding to is the opportunity to become a subcontractor, but getting these new
Am I back?
You're
Yeah,
back.
did you get a phone
What's
call?
up, Carlos?
Yeah, man. Next time I won't use my phone for this. So once they get their certificate from Department of Labor, then they can transition and start their own flooring company and be a 1099. So a lot of these companies that we work with, they have the vision of they have an apprenticeship program already within their company, and they're already aiming that these students that they take in are one day going to end up being subcontractors for their company once they complete the apprenticeship program. So what we're doing now is making sure that they learn the standard of the trade. So by the time they already have their own company, they're actually installing quality work.
Gotcha. Yeah. So as I was saying, when you dropped off there for a second, I think we're kind of talking about two different perspectives on this. Yes, you are talking about the opportunity to become your own boss and be a subcontractor eventually. That is a very intriguing offer, right? It is one of the industries you can go out and be your own boss. You can make a lot of money, or you can kind of have that freedom to balance your lifestyle. But from my perspective that I'm talking about is the complication it brings for your placement, because there's so few companies, particularly, I mean, you take a huge swath of the company. There's a lot of companies that do not hire on even apprentices or installers at all. I just got back a few weeks back from a tour down in Dallas, and I met with, like, I think probably 12 or 13 different companies. Not one of them even had one employee installer. So,
yeah.
Placement is more of what I'm talking about. Getting them with a flooring company, if you're to do it on a large scale, can be complicated, I would think, because a lot of the outlets for installers who want to come into the industry, the outlet is to go work for one of the subcontractors or go work for a labor shop. Right. I mean, and so
Yeah.
how do you just make sure you're dealing with companies that want that eventuality of them becoming a sub as the overall goal?
Yeah. Well, the contractors that we're working with now, they have in-house crews. So it's already a part of their business model. So those are the companies essentially that we work with to start off with for our students.
I got a question for you. So
Yeah.
if the premise is to get them trained, to get them out and get them out on their own, at what point does someone say, yes, you are good enough in this discipline to be out on your own in such a short amount of time?
You think 4 years is a short amount of time?
Depending on the discipline.
Maybe not for the trade, or
not for the trade.
The skill
business.
set. Maybe they're getting, I would say they're becoming at 4 years, at least in my experience of hiring hundreds of installers, I would say they're becoming proficient at a particular discipline.
Yeah,
that's true.
But
getting
out on their own, it might be a little premature. But I think also what we're talking about and what we discuss a lot on this podcast is the business acumen that you need to really go be your own boss, right?
Yeah.
There's that piece where either going to work with a subcontractor, a good one, where you can learn some of that stuff, or doing some business courses or some mentorship with, guys like Jose or Daniel or myself on what it's like and what you really need to pay attention to if you're a sub to not only be successful on your installation, but be successful as a business, because you're a business at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And this is Roy just
yeah.
made a comment, the main problem is how to run the business and not training the installer, right? Because after 4 years, you can have some decent hand skills and not know anything at all about running a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do is, okay, so right now we work with Department of Labor on the side of getting these students into the program, into the apprenticeship. There's another department we work with. It's Department of Commerce, and they have an agency called Minority Business Development Agency. They provide the training and the resources to basically set up a student on the business side. So that's the thing is, I feel like after 4 years of you doing floor installation, you're kind of gonna know like, and you're getting paid a decent amount of a salary working in house. You're kind of gonna be like, do I really want to start my own flooring company? Because when you're young, you're ambitious, you want to, have your own business. But when you start seeing what it takes to run a company, especially when you're working at with a flooring contractor, you see the other stuff that you never would have thought of. So I feel like some students might say, you know what, I'd rather just um, get promoted within the company and maybe into a
Well, and
different department. Yeah.
hopefully so, because honestly, there's a pretty low percentage of flooring installers that should end up being, their own boss.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly that young. I guess not just what NF Cap is doing, but I'm curious of your take on this after being in it. Not so much just what you do, which is interesting and good, and I'm glad that you brought that up. But what's your guys's group discussion here? What are some solutions to properly maintain some of the new applicants that companies like NFCAP or FCEF or these other entities are bringing into the industry to make sure that the education continues for the person, and if they do want to go out on their own, what is the mechanisms, or what should we be thinking as an industry to make sure they're successful ultimately? Because having an installer come in, do a good job with his hands, but failing as a business, that may not be the best end result either, right? So just
Yeah.
off the hip, not anything that's necessarily NF Cap specific, but what's your thoughts around those kinds of things?
Well, man, I tell you something, starting a business from zero is not easy. From experience, I think it's not easy. So I think someone has to be really resilient and have a drive and to stick in there and actually want to learn how to run a company and find a way how to succeed or how to market yourself against the competition. It's not easy, but I know if you stay committed and you work hard and you network in the long run, you can build a fruitful company. So it's not
Yeah,
it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, but for the ones who have that heart, then yeah, they can do it. But if not, they can just have the skill set and work for a company that is always busy, a commercial flooring company. For sure, is most of the time is busy.
yeah. What about you guys, Daniel and Jose? I mean, Dave Garden just chimed in and said, uh, increasing or continued education should be a standard for all installers. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't think
agree.
we should, ever stop learning. It's not like you get to the end of the 4 years and you're good,
Yeah.
Right.
but
And I think
education in business as well, right?
right. So I think when we talk about apprenticeships, for the most part, you kind of relate it to the union because it's union strong, right? So when you talk about apprenticeships, you're talking about going through that course for the 4 years and then basically saying, all right, now you can do whatever. But I mean, they still train on a regular basis as long as they're part of that union. So I think we just need to get to that point where it's not necessarily frowned upon by so many people. Like, I already know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I don't need training, right? And we talk about this all the time. But it has to be where I think that's where the benefit of actually having the employee installers kind of like similar to the union, right? But a union doesn't necessarily have to employ them full time, right? They can go from union shop to union shop. But having the employee installers kind of gives you, or at least them, like they will actually want to train. Since I mean, like for us, we pay the guys when they come in and train, and it's just that's not the case when you're on your own, and that's why a lot of the guys that are 1099 or doing their own thing, it's like they either have to go work today to make the amount of money they need to, or they're going to go to a training and lose a bunch of money and then fall way behind. So it's just that.
I think that's like the stigma, but like Pruitt, hey, what's up, Pruitt? He just chimes in and says, good morning, everyone. But it's 3:00 in the afternoon. He's still on
he
Kansas
just
City
woke up.
Chiefs hangover.
Yeah, he just woke up from the game.
But that's the stigma, but it's not true. The most successful guys I know that make the most money in the industry are the ones who are dedicated to education and training them, getting training. They invest their time in the education and training, and that's how they view it. They don't view it as spending money to go and losing money to go get trained. They view it as, I'm going to invest this amount of time, this amount of effort and money so that I can, increase my performance, increase my standing in the industry, and, command a bigger dollar and get better projects, get more rewarding projects that pay better. I mean, that's what I see. That's the proof. That's the data. I think it's a farce that, somehow you lose money by becoming more educated. If that was the case, we wouldn't have any doctors or any surgeons. Like, they go do this stuff, and then you get out of it. And yes, there's a sacrifice period, but you get out of it and you can command more money. I mean, that's
I agree
what I
with you.
think I see happening more than
I agree with you. It's kind of like, you take all these courses, you take all these certifications, you're getting better at what you're doing, you're becoming a professional, and you build a sense of pride of what you're doing. It's become a craft. It's like a craft at the end of the day, artisan. And what I've realized from the experience of doing this for the past almost 5 years of doing the legwork and just seeing someone talk about apprenticeship. Like the other day, we had a class in Austin, and this individual who's been in the industry for quite some time, but he just joined the apprenticeship. He was proud to say, like, I'm in school again. I'm an apprentice. I'm learning. And just seeing how he felt of being a part of an apprenticeship program and the pride that he was demonstrating, it just showed that it's a shift. We're not just a regular flooring installer putting floors in. Like, there's pride behind it. It's starting to become like a profession now. And that's the way we promote it to the students. That's why we take them to the trade show. Like this is our industry. It's big. It's not just some small thing. It's the students that we took, they were blown away. They had a change of heart about our industry. And so that's something that we want to keep portraying, that being a flooring installer is not like a low job. It's something great. And I think the next generation
thanks for
will pick
bringing
that
them,
up.
by the way. Thanks for bringing them. That was really, really cool to see you guys cruising around the trade show and joining us on the podcast there. That was neat.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I do want to apologize, guys. I have to take off right now, though. So I don't want to.
All right, man. Take care, brother.
I'll tell you guys what's going on later. I don't want to bring down the mood.
Got it.
Very good. All right, sir. Kudos, Daniel. Best of luck. I'm not.
Hey, Daniel. Sorry about them lines, man.
Hey, we'll get him next year. That's what we say every year.
So, as we're continuing this apprenticeship talk, and I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope everything's good with Daniel. So we'll wish for the best there. But one of the things about apprenticeship to me is gaining, experience in not only what you're doing, but how to operate projects. We got a podcast coming up about site conditions and how they can impact your profitability. learning how to properly set up projects even after you've gotten through your apprenticeship. Um, the that's the real benefit of being with a company or being with being in an employee standpoint before you go out and start your own thing. So we say this a lot on the podcast here, is like, take your time before you go out and start your business. Work with a company, really understand the best ways to set up jobs, and because that has a lot to do with your potential success in the future. um, you know, as far as the role that apprenticeships play, I believe that if we can figure out and continue to hone in on creative ways to deal in the digital world with apprenticeships and placements, that's going to be a need here in the future. The younger generation live on their devices, and the more that we can understand meeting them where they're at and finding ways to connect them with work opportunities and people, and making sure that, as an industry, we're doing our very best for the new incoming youth. And you guys do a great job at NFCAP. I mean, you're very, I would say, you could see it in your eyes. You're dedicated to the kids. You're very happy with what you do. Um, what is the biggest challenges? We understand the role of apprenticeships now. What's the biggest challenges? How can the industry help out in these, in this apprenticeship kind of approach?
Man, our our biggest challenge right now is placement. That's it. It's placement. Like the students are there, but to find placement
You
for
guys
us
hear me at
is.
all?
I hear you now. It's just placement at this current moment. We can find more contractors that are willing to, become apprenticeship sponsors and take our students. That'd be great.
So why don't we go through real quick? What does it take to place a student with NFCAP? Because we have there's some solutions out there for placement. I've talked to
Yeah.
you about Jumpstart, which is a Go Carrera product that essentially puts the new students on a platform, and then we connect them to our network of installers. And if you're at least one hammer or above as a network installer, you have access to Jumpstart, and then you can hire off of Jumpstart. Jumpstart is not 100% live yet, but we're just finishing some stuff up. That is the concept of Jumpstart, but that doesn't work well with the way some of the states work and what you have to do. So why don't you explain to us the methods that you kind of have to go through?
Well, one, you have to fill out an application to see, what your company is offering, the wage scales, the benefits that you provide for the employee. Because at the end of the day, even the student has to make that decision if they want to go work at that specific company. So we present that, like, the job offers to the students. Now, for a company to become an apprenticeship sponsor, all they have to do is sign an Appendix D, which is an employer agreement. And within that agreement, it's just stating that you're going to follow the standard of the apprenticeship guidelines, which is what are you going to train them on? For example, NWFA and NTCA has these apprenticeship guidelines that you're supposed to follow, and they have the books available. They have the online university. They have to follow that for the next 3 to 4 years and complete that. I mean, it's great, to be honest with you, because you're basically training your workforce according to the standard of the industry, and it helps you build a quality workforce. In addition to all that, when you become an apprenticeship sponsor at a state and a federal level, there's tax credits at a county level. And when you hire our students, we can help. Sometimes it can be 100% salary reimbursement up to 3 to 5 months, or 50%, depending on the county you're in. Another benefit is that the students, they get tools up to 1,500. We also cover, for example, if they're going to do the work flooring specialist, we cover that NWFA certification costs. If they're going to be an NTCA tile setter, then we also cover the CTI certification cost. So these students that we bring to the table, they come with resources that help them succeed. Not only that, on top of all that, we help these students transition from Job Corps. A lot of them will relocate to new cities that they don't have any family members or apartments or nothing like that. So we help them find a place. We help them get grants so they can get a down payment to a car, or at least pay 1 month of their rent to give them a little boost in life. So we help them get stable within the first 3 to 6 months once they transition out of Job Corps and start working with the local contractor.
So that was going to be
Yeah.
one of my
So
questions for you. Was I don't know how well you guys can hear me, but my microphone and my
I hear you.
headset's
I hear
not
you
we hear
clearly.
you just fine.
cooperating.
Yeah.
But that was one of the questions I was going to have for you too. Was when they're transitioning and they do want to, basically travel and go out of state and maybe set roots somewhere else. I didn't know if there was any solid programs in place for that.
Yeah, so the way that it works is it doesn't matter where the student wants to go. Um, as long as before they even get there, we set them up with the local workforce board to get eligible. Once they're eligible, then they qualify for the local resources, and along with your company as well, you get partner up with the workforce board. So it just have to do it in advance. Like it has to be planned out in due time because the government tends to work pretty slow. So you have to be on top of it, and also as an employer, take that into consideration, that it takes time. So we can do that ahead
Yeah.
of time and do that smooth transition, then it'll work perfectly fine.
So it's a pretty big lift for, say, a subcontractor to qualify for the program with you, to then get apprentices into their install company. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a big lift. I mean, I think we're doing it already. It's just what it does is creates something formal for these flooring companies that are already busy. If you're busy all the time and you want to build your workforce, I think it's the perfect system to set in place.
Yeah. So Jorge asked, who's doing training at NFCAP in San Marcos, Texas?
Currently, we have someone that used to work for the union in Washington. He retired. He's an instructor there. He was a flooring installer for about 30 years.
Cool. Yeah. So like there's Dave Garden said, I pulled it up a minute ago that the largest problem is the 1099 system. Um, to delve into that a bit, I don't. It's subs paying their employees or the people that work for them on jobs as a 1099 and not hiring them as employees and properly training them and getting them, um, you know, in touch with different opportunities to become better. I think that's what he's referring to. He may chime in and correct me, but you know, uh, Dave is used to own a large. I think his son runs it now, but used to own a large labor shop. So the labor shops ought to be different. If you're a head installer, you should be hiring employees, or at least that would be the best way to then help that employee go further their education and get better. We've talked about it here on the podcast before, but I think um, it's not as prevalent as I think it used to be, and that's subs or installers not wanting to train other installers because they're training them to take their jobs, kind of thing. I think we all know that stigma. It doesn't. I know a lot of people that love to train. A lot of installers that love teaching the next generation. Do you run across that much, Carlos? When you place a new apprentice into a place where the feedback comes back that he's not being well received or something, to
Yeah,
or is that a old tale that just keeps coming up?
no, actually, from our experience this past 3 years, what we realize is it depends on the size of the company. If it's a big company that has many in-house installers, like the guy has a lot of vans and he sends them out to complete his contracts, like that it works perfectly fine with our students. But when it's someone that just doesn't even have a shop, only has a van, like a subcontractor, and we sent students to go work with them, and it just didn't work out for some particular reason. He didn't want to even take the time to, even when we told him it's an apprentice, they didn't want to train him at all. I don't know what
Hmm.
happened
So
there.
I'll chime in on that one right there, and I understand that portion too, because we were once stuck in that rut where we felt that we didn't have the time to focus training on individuals, right? So it was we have deadlines in the commercial world. We have deadlines, and we would start training, and then we'd start running out of time, and say, all right, you know what, I'm running out of time. I have to have you go do this because I know you do this well. And then on the next project, we'll try to pick up, and that kind of derails the training and motivation a little bit, both for the employer and the employee, because you know there's gaps in between. But I think once we started doing more in-house and practice training on our slower days and recognizing when it was a good time to split the crew in half and have some guys come here and practice while the other guys are on a project, we started doing that. We started getting a little more ahead of the game for us anyway.
Yeah, and you guys have sent your employees to, different trainings and certifications. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you see the value there. Here at my flooring company, um, when I would say there's at least five, if not six or seven of our subs that used to be hourly employees here. So, we don't try to stop them. We do try to have an exit interview with them. Sometimes it does stop them and explain to them all of the requirements that are going to, you know, be on their shoulders now to fulfill as a business owner. And I think that's a good thing for a company to do. I don't want to stifle entrepreneurship. In many cases, we ended up with one hell of a sub out of the deal, and they went on to hire more people and more installers and do it the right way and make a great sub. Others have fallen pretty hard, and so all I can do is continue to encourage people that if you're going to be, if you want to go out and be a subcontractor, it's awesome, but please know what you're getting into and understand that this problem of hiring people, it's one of the main things I see on the Facebook pages all the time is like, I can't find any good help. I can't. Well, there's resources out there. NFCAP is one of them, but you have to be prepared. You have to you have to treat your installation company as a business. And then you can kind of check some of these boxes. Reach out to NFCAP, reach out to FCEF, start looking at ways, reach out to Go Carrera. We'll get you to where you can have access to the Jumpstart, and you can have access to, young talent or newer talent to the industry anyway. But you got to run your business like a business. And if you just go out, you get a van, you get some tools, and you start installing floors, and you don't really treat your company like a business, like David said earlier, he kind of confirmed that the largest issue that he's talking about when he said 1099 is the individual subcontractor misusing the system to avoid running a business properly.
Yeah,
that's
true.
A pretty good sum up of what I'm talking about here is, you got to run it like a business.
That's right. And I think Dwayne on there too, to answer his question is kind of what you just alluded to is run it like a business. That's the only way to run that successful workroom is it doesn't matter if you're labor only full retail or retail and then you sub everything out. You still have to understand the business aspect of the industry. Business is business. If it's got to be for profit, it's got to make money to sustain itself regardless. Your people are your tools. Their mindset, their health, their education, those are their tools. You got to feed into that, right? You got to make sure that you're catering to those tools so that way they can get better, they can get sharper. In turn, your business will get better, your business will get sharper. um, it takes a while to understand that you have to invest time and money into getting better and getting everyone around you better. It's hard at first when you don't feel like you're generating the revenue, but you have to. You got to
So
figure out a way.
when we're talking about running it like a business, we're talking about caring about your people.
Yeah.
We're talking about caring about your P&L, like actually make sure you're making money.
Mhm.
We're talking about caring about your equipment, and we're talking about, controlling your expenses, making sure that your profit model or your revenue model, makes enough money to cover those things and pay you well, and that your people are one of your most important assets. Many times, I think what I'm reading in most of these, here's the problem kind of comments is it's when subs hook up with someone else and they split the money, or they hook up with someone and you're like, you're going to get 10% of every job we do, and I'm going to pay you as a 1099. A sub, subbing to another sub, subbing to another sub kind of scenario, or 1099 to 1099, that's where you just get lost in the mix. And that is a problem in our industry. If you are a shop, or you're a labor, whether some people call them brokers or what have you, but if you own a labor shop and you are working, the thing that separates you from everyone else is how you treat your people, and how you educate your people, and how you pour into them to help them get better, like Jose was just talking about.
And
Well, guys, I want to add something about that whole 1099 thing. Not too long ago, I had a meeting with the company in Dallas, Texas, and he was informing me that the IRS is starting to track down and stuff like that. If a company that's supposedly 1099 is receiving more than 80% of income from one company, that's not even 1099, and then the IRS is going to go after that company to get those taxes. So that's something that's in the
trickle
move
up.
right now.
That's a trickle up.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now in Texas. So this guy's like, he's like, hey, I got to change my model and just do W-2s just to avoid that wave that's about to take out a lot of companies within our industry.
Yeah, there's a lot of different metrics that they're using. One of them being, control. One of them being the capability for profit and loss. That's another metric that they, can the sub lose money, right? Scheduling, and that falls under the control piece. Taxes, work comp, those kinds of deals. And is the sub working for other people? That's one of the reasons I'm so, pro Go Carrera. The fact is that all my installers that work for me are also on the network doing work for other people, and it's all right there on the platform. And you can see that they don't just work for me. They may work a lot of time for, or I shouldn't say for me, but with me as a trade partner. But they also get other work on Go Carrera, and they have to maintain their own insurance. They have to maintain their W-9s and pay their taxes and that stuff. But it's really important that we don't try to work the system. Like, hire good people, try to pour into your people. If you're a sub, our hourly employees are benefited with health insurance and paid by the hour on a W-2 with a company van, with free work
amazing.
gear and equipment. And then our subs, they have to take care of all of their own stuff. If they're traveling, they got to get their own hotel rooms, those kinds of deals. If our hourly employees are traveling, well, guess what? They got their hotel already taken care of, where it's at, paid for, done. And so you can run a system where you have both employee installers and subs, but you have to have clear definition between how you treat them. And you can't treat a sub like an employee. And I think that's a lot of what, like, David and some of the other comments are referring to. Is the fact is like, dude, that's the only way for us to increase the health of the industry and get these new apprentices or new people coming into the industry, to build them up and make them better. I've said it for a long time. Ever since I sat into a seminar talking about the installation crisis and how big it was and all the metrics around it, I thought, what a catastrophe to not only have that shortage, but if we fix and bring in the kind of numbers they're talking about, how do we properly make sure that they're placed with other quality companies and other quality installers to make sure that they continue to get better? Because that's the fastest way to lose them. I almost didn't end up in this industry because I ended up with some jerk that was just a jerk to me as my first, my first mechanic. And, we got to change that attitude and invite these guys in, invite these new men and women into our industry and pour into them and try and help them get better.
So I want to touch base on another question. Dwayne kind of finished it. He just wanted to know, his question was more directed, how does he get, or how does he start using the installers that the NF Cap are providing? And I think it's just a matter, he said it earlier, and Dwayne must not have been on, but you just got to fill out a form, like a pre-qual, and give you some information and see where it goes from there. And I don't think
where's Dwayne located?
He's located here in Wichita.
Wichita. Yep.
Yeah.
So
the first time I was over there, I say, "Hey, where's Wichita at?" They're like, "What's Wichita?"
But I do want to add, just for clarification too, just in case anybody's
there's the QR code, Dwayne. That'll get you to the place where you need to get in contact with Carlos, and hopefully that helps you out a little bit.
So some of the benefit, and this, I'm going to kind of summarize it a little bit, is NFCAP is providing training for individuals to put them out there in the workforce, to introduce them to companies or to go on their own. If you're one of the companies that are able to, I don't want to say adopt, right, but able to take on a few employees, you take them on, you give them additional training after a few years, then it's up to the individual to decide whether they stay or become self-employed. And I guess it goes back to, it's no different than somebody getting hired off the streets, except for you are giving them a head start for companies. You're getting some basic training in, some basic flooring knowledge, and companies like myself wouldn't have to start from scratch on the training portion of it. Now,
I want to say something about that. Yeah, let me add on top of that. What we're really doing is we're vetting out the students ahead of time. They go through like electrical trade, they go through plumbing, they go through painting, all different type of trades. So by the time they get to us and they exit our program, you're getting someone who said, "Hey, I see this as a career path. I see it as something I can do, for the rest of my life." So you're getting someone who's not thinking about, "Oh, let me try it out and see if I like it." You're getting someone who wants to grow in it and do something and become something great in the industry. And the other thing is we look for individuals, who have great character, that we see that will have a bright future. It takes a lot of our resources and time, but we're doing that vetting out for the contractors. We're doing that service for them because we want the contractors to be busy getting the next contract to keep these students busy and making money.
Well, that's a good distinction. I mean, bringing, we all have experienced, like the new guy, CFI did a 2-week course, and we utilize that 2-week course to vet out some guys. I mean, if you're not going to stay at a 2-week course, then you're probably not going to make it here. We ended up with one good guy. He's still employed with us today. And so anything that the industry does in these regards to pre-vet and make sure that they want to be in the flooring industry, I think that's, a huge service. So thank you for what you do, Carlos. We've already, believe it or not, come up to the end of the podcast. I want to once again thank you for joining us. Everybody, just want to say Jose's brother Daniel is fine. He does have a puppy that's not doing well, and I don't mind saying it here at the he didn't want to bring down the mood, but sounds like one of his puppies, big dog guy, and as well as Daniel is, or Jose is, but his puppy's not doing well, so he had to go. But thank you to him for joining. If you enjoy the type of content that we bring here, we encourage you to, come see us on Apple or Spotify. We're on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, whatever you want to do. Give us some content. that you want us to talk about. We got some really good episodes coming up, and with some really great sponsors and really great manufacturers and just, people trying to change the industry like yourself, Carlos. So thanks again for joining us. And again, everybody, thank you for the comments. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys joining us. And with that, I'm going to say break.
All right, thanks. Thanks
Yes,
for the
sir.
invitation, guys.
Congratulations to the Chiefs. Last thing I got to say it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Again, 3 p.m. Central on Tuesdays.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you, Carl.